Hello, book fans. I'm in Book Corner here with all these lovely books, but I'm going to be talking about one specific one, which is this one, The Last Colony by Philipe Sands. You may know him from East is West Street. Very good writer, and he also is a bit of a lawyer. So this book, on the whole, it's a bit of a document, a bit of history on the legal proceedings with the people of the Chagos Islands who were kicked off the islands by the UK, really essentially illegally when the British had signed up to decolonisation, which had been brought in by the Americans because I suppose the Americans didn't have any colonies, and they wanted everyone else to decolonise because it was the right thing to do, to allow countries to go back into their own rule rather than having the British rule them from Britain. So that's the kind of concept of the book. That's what it's all about, not a concept. It's a document about the law story. It's quite interesting because in the 1960s, that's when the islands got separated from Mauritius. So Mauritius is about 200 miles away from the Chagos Islands, which are close to the Maldives, but they were part of Mauritius, but then they got separated out under and it was kind of a condition for Mauritian independence. That's how the British got them to, allowed them to become independent in the first place by making an agreement that they separate off the Chagos Islands and make them part of the Biot, British Indian Ocean Territory, which is essentially, it was a way of giving the USA a military base there, an airport where they can fire off missions to, for example, Iraq, and later on they could bring prisoners in and possibly do some illegal kind of action, like Guantanamo Bay maybe. But they had prisoners transiting through there. I don't know if they got any kind of treatment there, but they certainly transited through the airfield. So it's controversial, and the controversial bit is the Chagos people, because it's not the fact they established a military base. That's not what's been in dispute. It's been the fact that they kicked off everybody in the Chagos Islands, which wasn't, I don't think that was a deal breaker for the United States. It's something the British did of their own accord. So there's people that are still alive now, because it was done in the 60s. They're still alive now that remember the Chagos Islands, and they would still want to go back. They want to go back home, and that's what this is a book that is about. It's about sending them back home. It talks. You've got Elise, Lisbeth, Liz. I can't remember her name. Sorry, and she was born in the Chagos Islands. She got kicked off when she was a young woman. Now she's about 65 or something. So what occurred was, the way that they got kicked off the islands, it was also a bit of a disgrace. They killed all the dogs. They gassed the dogs. No reason. They got given one box. They said for every person you're allowed one box. That's it. They couldn't even take more possessions than that. So that was a disgrace. How the islands were evacuated in the first place. And then the fact that they wanted to come back, and they can't come back because they're not allowed. However, people, there is a base there on Diego Garcia. There's a big military base, and people work there from Mauritius. There's Mauritians that work there. There's people from Bangladesh, I think it was, that work there, but nobody from Chagos. It's like, in my mind, why couldn't they have stayed and just worked at the base instead? There's no reason why that couldn't have happened. So I suppose it's an element of control. The reason the British wanted to hold on to the territory, the only way they could hold on to that and separate it off from Mauritius, is if the islands were empty of people. So to me, I think it's just a way of the British keeping control of the islands, and it's really embarrassing. As somebody who is British, I find it really embarrassing that it's, well, not embarrassing, I'm disgusted really in the government's behaviour, how they've, even with the international court being involved, and this goes through the whole international court, the fisheries courts and everything, to the steps that have been taken to get the Chagos people back on the island. They're still not back there yet, but I'm not going to spoil the ending of the book. There's still legal wranglings. You've got Brexit in there. You've got all the successive prime ministers of Britain and the effect they had. Theresa May, that idiot with the yellow hair, what's he called? Johnson, that's him. The one that was a prime minister was for a very short time. Actually, she plays a significant part in the story, because she's the one that really helps things along a little bit. But yeah, the rubbish one. But I'm not going to ruin the ending. But it's something that is still getting dragged out, and it's a story of people really that have been displaced and how we get them back, and it's still ongoing. It's written very well. This part at the start is very good, but I think I found it difficult when I got into the legal wranglings bit. And it gets a bit. It's only about 54 pages, I think. So there's not a lot of words to read. It's more the legal bits I found a little bit difficult, more difficult than the Rat Line. I've not read East West Street, but the Rat Line is a completely different kind of style, and I found that a lot easier to read. But that's World War II, so maybe that's why. And it doesn't have the actual. It's more historic, whereas this is documenting his work, because he was involved in the legal battle. He was representing the islands, and let's read a little bit of an excerpt of the kind of. Well, I suppose the insanity of the British, on the British side of it. And one of the reasonings for not allowing them independence and allowing them to resettle the islands is, this is from, this is from Karen Pierce, who, blah, 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 bilateral conversation. So this person said, "We need to stay in control for reasons of security, ours and yours." And then she explained to Ambassador Kunjul, "What if we are attacked by aliens?" So this is a British representative there. I mean, what is that for a reason? The thing is, they've already said that Mauritius is the one that was going to take control of the islands again, and they've said they'll renew the lease to the Americans for 99 years, and it is an American base, it's kind of British owned, but Americans are leasing it off the British, so why can't they just lease it off off Mauritius instead? And that is perfectly reasonable. So there's no reason why it shouldn't return, and it should return, and hopefully it will return to them in time. But we will see. I mean, nobody knows exactly how it's going to go, but at least this book is showing exactly how the British government behave, not the British people. But yeah, I think it's awful, and there was no real support of the eviction of the Chagosian people as well, not massively. They just got sent to Mauritius, or they got sent to, Creepy Crawley near Heathrow Airport so Britain, and they didn't get massive amounts of support. Some of them even got sent back. They got evicted from the UK because remember Theresa May when they sent speaker buses around saying, go back you know what I'm saying. And it's just an embarrassment of the British, and we should all learn about this element of colonialism. And Brexit is all about this as well. And it kind of reflects the whole Brexit argument of having the colonies. I think it's embarrassing. Good book. I think it's an essential read for anyone who's British, anyone who was against Brexit, because Brexit does play its part in a positive kind of way in this book. So there are some positives to Brexit, as this book will show. What else? I think you just need to read it for history of the recent behaviour of British governments and the current behaviour of the British government, which is appalling. It's embarrassing, and we're not this great nation of law abiders who do the right thing every time. We don't. We're as bad as anybody. They talk about the Russians. We talk about the Russians invading Ukraine and say that's wrong. Well, how's our behaviour here any different, really? Ukraine actually is a lot worse because they're actually bombing the civilians. But nevertheless, the legal kind of the legal nature of it, that's illegal. This was illegal. It's the same kind of basic principle to begin with. So yeah, Falkland Isles as well. And though that's the other one where white people on the Falkland Isles, where it was quickly sorted out. That was when they got invaded by the Argentinians. I mean, none of them had any right to own it, but the people there are right to decide who they belong to, who are white people, so they belong to Britain. That's what they want. But the Chagossians obviously have a darker skin pigmentation, and yet they were abandoned and just kicked off. A number of people live there as in the Falklands. So yeah, there's many good points like this in the book. It's an excellent read. It's essential for anybody who's British, and anybody who wants to know about the truth really of how it's behaved. It's not great for people who think we're brilliant, but I think we should own up to where we do go wrong, and we should put our hands up and say that was wrong, and then put the wrong right. That's what should occur. Anyway, great book, essential reading, 4 out of 5 experience, and it's opened my eyes to another element of history which I was not taught about at school. Okay, found this useful? Drop a like, but thank you very much for watching and have a great day, and I will sit here and enjoy Book Corner for a bit longer. Thank you.